engine we adore is really useful engine, you know. 'Cause the fat controller, he told him so. Now he's got a punchline to call his very own. He's the really useful engine we adore. He's the one. He's the number one. Thomas the Tank Engine. He's the really useful engine we adore.
One day, Sidney the Blue Diesel was hanging out with his friends at the Vickerstown Diesel Works just as Toby arrived. "I got some bad news," he said. Dennis had broke down, and he was meant to be taking the night train all the way to Knapford. So Tom had sent me here to ask one of you to do it for him. But the Diesels were unsure. Until... "Me!" Sidney blurted out. "Are you sure, Sidney?" asked Den. "What he means is," insisted Dart, "is that you never done it before." "Oh, how bad could it be? You know what they say, it's always good to try new things." And with that, Sidney rolled away. Sidney got to Vickerstown Station where the night train's waiting for him, and he set off. It was nighttime when Sidney arrived at the Soder Airport. Then he heard some loud huffing and puffing heading towards him. "Ah, what was that? It's a monster!" "It was just Reginald heading back towards Vickerstown, Sidney," said Jeremy. "It's not a monster." "Oh, right. Thanks, Jeremy." And Sidney continued on his way. "What was Sidney doing out here this time of night?" asked Jeremy to Stepney. "I think he's pulling the night train," replied Stepney. "You know Sidney when it comes to being out late at night like this time. He gets scared very easily by random things. That's what they called him, Scaredy Cat Sidney." It was early in the morning when Sidney arrived back at the Vickerstown Diesel Works. "So, how'd it go?" asked Dart. "Not too bad," replied Sidney. "Were you scared?" laughed Den. "Me? Scared? No way, I wasn't scared. I was natural when I took it to Knapford from here." Just then, Sir Topham had arrived. "Ah, Sidney, I heard that you've done well pulling the night train all the way to Knapford. So for tomorrow night, you'll be taking it again all the way to Knapford. You hear that, Sidney? You'll be doing the job again." "Ah, yes, sure, why not?" But Sidney wasn't very excited this time. Nighttime came by as Sidney was out and about pulling the night train all the way to Knapford. He stopped at a red signal near Wellsford Station. Then he heard a voice. "Hello, Sidney." "Ah, who's there?" "It's Edward, over here." "Oh, hello, Edward. I didn't see you there." "And what are you doing out here this time of night?" "Oh, I'm taking this train to Knapford Station for the second time, which is the night train. And the first time I did it, I didn't get scared one bit and acted natural." "Well, if you're scared back then, Sidney, it's quite alright. Being scared is normal." But Sidney was already leaving as the signal turned green. The troublesome trucks thought it was funny when Sidney got scared by Edward. "Ha ha, Scaredy Cat Sidney, Scaredy Cat Sidney." Edward was cross. "Troublesome trucks, enough," he scolded. The truck stopped laughing and immediately fell silent as Edward continued on his way back to Knapford. It was still nightfall when Sidney arrived back. "Hopefully I won't be doing this again," he murmured to himself. "I forgot that I don't like working at night that much. Hopefully I'll get better daytime jobs soon." But Sidney was wrong. The next night, Sir Tom had sent him to work at Vickerstown shunting trains and getting them ready for the morning. He began to feel more scared as he kept on working, as random noises went on, like engines were nearby snoring, along with owls hooting. Connor woke up on a siding not too far away near Vickerstown Station and blew his whistle loudly. This scared Sidney and he shot forward. As he went over Henry's tunnel, he came derailed as he went down the other side. Luckily, he wasn't hurt or damaged. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Sidney," said Connor as he puffed up. "I didn't mean to scare you like that."
"It's all right, Connor," he called. "These things happen."
The next morning, as Sidney was placed back on the rails, Sir Tom had arrived to see if he's okay.
"I'm sorry, sir. It looks like nighttime isn't the best time for me to do work and be a really useful engine, because when it comes to being out late at night, I always get scared by random things, like engines whistling or snoring, as well as owls hooting."
"Well, Sidney," replied Sir Topham Hatt, "I'm glad you told me that, but how come you didn't do so earlier?"
"Because," replied Sidney, "I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of my friends and other engines, just because I'm a scaredy cat during the night."
"They'll understand, Sidney," said Harvey. "Being scared is okay." And Harvey was right when the other Diesels heard about this. And instead of making fun of him, they felt sorry for Sidney.
"Jeepers, Sidney," said Dan. "We have no idea you don't like going out at night."
"What he means is," insisted Dart, "how come you didn't tell us in the first place?"
"Because I didn't want to get embarrassed. But since I told you all understand."
"Of course we do," replied Diesel. "Sidney, your family." And Sidney smiled his happiest smile.